Coogs house. All right. Now, you guys know I like wearing a Houston Cougar hat as much as anyone. I like to rotate through them on the show, but we decided to bring in some folks that maybe know a little bit more about that. We'll get into it.
You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Cougs, a podcast about your Houston Cougars. I'm your host, Houston-born teacher and coach Parker Ainsworth. And whether you're a Houston fan or just a hater that came to stop by, thank you for making Locked On Cougs your first, second, whatever listen of the day. Appreciate you listening each and every day here. If you want to join the conversation but don't know what to say, tell us in the comments down below if you were allowed to wear a hat inside growing up, because that differed based on which house I was in at the time. Speaking of hats, today we're going to bring on a couple folks that are both graduates. In fact, there are two graduates. And so without further ado, let's bring in PJ and Pat from Two Grads, the company making the most unique, I'll say, Houston Cougar gear out there. Were y'all allowed to wear hats inside, or is this kind of a rebellious sort of company y'all create?
Hey, we're all about rebellion, man. We've been scarred by our grandparents telling us to take off hats at the dinner table. So now that we're adults, we're keeping them on.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that because just the other day, I was eating dinner at my parents and my mom, because so my hairline, it's going by the wayside. So I've been wearing a lot of hats. So I was wearing a hat at the dinner table, and my mom was just letting me have it. She was trying to rip the hat off my head. So,
well, that's funny. So I sit in a room exactly, and I wear a hat on air, and I wear a hat a lot of the time because I am also thinning up front. And while we got plenty of companies that Locked On that can help you fix that, there's a light right there, and the reflection is just something gnarly. No one wants to see
me any favors.
All right, so a couple graduates that have been making some really cool and innovative gear. It's got fun cartoons. I've got the Hakeem Cougar on my shirt right now, if people can see on the YouTube show. He looks like a crossover of a Saturday morning cartoon, the Cocaine Cougar, and he's got an Hakeem Olajuwon jersey on. It's a lot of fun, but you guys have started this. This is not your first shot at a clothing company, but you're both U of H alums, and you want to make a company that's focused on U of H stuff. So I'll let whoever wants to start, but go back to how this whole thing started. Where did Two Grads begin?
Yeah, so I'll start, and then Pat, you can jump in. So Pat and I, we've been buddies since, going back to 2014, I think. Met at U of H. We're both freshmen. It's CV2, Cougar Village, just kind of, stayed in touch throughout college. And then our senior year, we decided to room together at the Calhoun Lofts, which I know they're not called Calhoun Lofts anymore, so I apologize for
showing your age a little bit there, Pete.
I know, yeah, I'm showing my age. And so we, so in 2017, right, we're heading into our senior year, and Pat and I were roommates, and we went to a football game, and we came back. We had a blast. We try to go to as many games as we can, really. And we came back, and we're staying up late, and our nightly routine was watching the show Silicon Valley, right? And being eager college students, we're thinking, hey man, what's our thing? These guys are starting up tech companies. What's our thing? And we had this foam finger that we brought back from the game. Sure enough, it made the Cougar paw, right? That was the foam finger. And we're kind of looking at it, and we're thinking to ourselves, what if we put that on a hat? We don't, we go to the bookstore, we buy, our polo shirts and our hats here and there, but U of H really doesn't have something with the paw on it. So sure enough, we grabbed the paw, got a picture on our phone somewhere, and we traced it. We thought, that's it. That's right there. And so we did. So we bought, we that was sort of our little investment. I think we each put like $250 into it, and we're like, for us, it's a lot of money. We're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna go broke investing into this thing. And we made some hats, and they kind of took off. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, what an idea. And so we made these hats, and like obviously, you can see it here, and on the screen right there. We've got some white ones. We used to have some red ones. We're definitely going to bring those back. But we started making different colors, right? We started with the white, the red. Eventually, we made black, navy, like tan-colored ones, and it just took off. It took off, and we kept it going probably up until we graduated. So we graduated in May of 2018, and the name of our brand was Crawdad Apparel. So maybe some of those that are listening, Crawdad Apparel. That was our brand back in school, and then Patrick decided that he wanted to move to Connecticut, and not blaming the death of Crawdad Apparel to Patrick moving to Connecticut, but it had a lot to do with it.
So
long distance relationship.
Yeah,
Pat, aside from killing the initial company, the company's clearly changed, altered, somewhat still around. We're still making paw print hats. What sparked bringing it back? Connecticut wasn't so great. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Connecticut wasn't so great. I was itching to get back to Houston from day one. And when I finally made it back, I mean, Hughes and I, we've been hanging out a lot. We just, started talking. We still, I mean, not to put any hate out there, but like, we still feel like the U of H merch that is out there right now is kind of still lacking in some ways. So that's kind of what inspired us to kind of come back and, bring Crawdad and eventually Two Grads back to the scene.
It's got a unique, I almost want to say like voice to it. Like it is very much like college age centric. You guys have done a good, and this is speaking as the old man in the virtual room here. You guys have, I think, found a way to speak to like, the crew neck sweatshirt or the oversized graphic tee, the simple old school feeling hats. Aside from just being much more hip and trendy than do you guys, again, either one of you can start from this, but have some sort of like a vision of like what the voice is, or is it just kind of whatever you guys think looks cool?
Pat, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of really just whatever we think looks cool. I think our main goal right now is to just kind of get our finger on the pulse of, the average U of H fan, and just kind of get a feel for what they're looking for, and just kind of appeal to the, everyday U of H fan.
Yeah, a lot to that. Yeah, I mean, I think, really our goal is to appeal to everybody, right? And like you mentioned, Parker, like anybody from a student up until, die hard U of H alum, 50 years in, somebody that could, wear our hat or a polo shirt or sweatshirt, right? So we're really trying to appeal to everybody. One thing that we've kind of focused on is getting feedback from the fans, right? Because that was really one of the bigger reasons of bringing it back, is just kind of sitting on the sidelines and seeing, hey, what is it that U of H fans want? And a lot of it was, man, we go to Academy, we go to, Dick's Sporting Goods, or, some other main retailer out there. And first of all, majority of it is UT and A&M, right? All the good stuff is at UT and A&M. And then U of H has this like one rack with like, the extra small, and then like, some other size that everybody's bought out. And the stuff there is just, sort of a cheap little t-shirt with the U of H logo. So we're trying to get rid of that. And we're trying to, bring some quality stuff to U of H, something that everybody can wear. And just hopefully, become the go-to for U of H fans.
Yeah, and kind of to my point earlier as well, like if you look at our content on our social media, like you'll notice that everything we post is like our faces, and it's, everything's done in-house. And like our number one goal is to kind of like build a relationship with the U of H community, let them get to know us and us get to know them, which is another reason why we're so grateful for you having us on here, because we really want to let people know who we are and not just be another faceless brand that's just, putting out merch and trying to make a buck.
Well, and you've both put your faces in. The Instagram's the biggest part of it. And if it's bigger somewhere else, please speak up, because that's, I think, the biggest place I've seen it places. And then the occasional Facebook group here or there, or what have you, it'll get linked into. But last question I want to ask, though, as far as that goes, big picture, obviously, you struck at the right time. The U of H got into the Big 12. We'll talk some about football in a second. The basketball program's tops. I mean, it's a nice time to be a Houston Cougar, relatively speaking. Bluntly, probably better than 2014, right?
That's a good point.
And striking while iron is hot is important. Is the goal to fill a part of the bookstore? Is the goal to expand to bigger things? Is where do you see this going outside of making cool stuff for Coug fans? Because right now it's just kind of an Instagram page that, as you can see, I've purchased my stuff that people can buy things off of, and we'll link all that. It's 2Grads on Instagram. It's very clear if you look up 2Grads, there's only a handful of accounts that it could even be. But what do you think this brand's going to go? What's the goal of that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think our goal is definitely to be in the bookstore, but beyond that, right? Our long-term goal, and again, hopefully it's one of those things where we're talking about it now, and then 5 or 10 years later, we're looking back and saying, "Hey, this was nice." Our goal is to have our own store, right? Ideally on campus, right? Because I think U of H has a lot of momentum going right now, as you mentioned, with the Big 12. And I think more and more people, whether or not you went to U of H, more and more people are starting to kind of rep it. Kind of like what you see with UTA and A&M, especially like with our basketball team being so great. And and I think really what we're trying to do is long term, get a store open and provide people apparel that they can go to, not just Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, right? Something that you can come visit on a Saturday, on a Sunday. We know a lot of people work and they still want good U of H apparel. And really the only store to get it right now is the bookstore or the stuff that Academy sells. And that stuff just isn't what we think is that good of quality. So that's ultimately our goal, is put a store.
Well, and you mentioned we've all the basketball team's kind of taken off. It's got a culture of its own. It's got the Jumpman logo on their stuff and all of that. I want to, in adding a name and a face and a voice to the brand that kind of is unique and out there. Talk some about basketball in a second. But first, I want to remind folks that today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It's a great app. They got all-in pricing. You can see for your concert, comedy show, theater, sports game, whatever, what your view will be like from your section and row, so you know what kind of obstructions or how far away you're going to be, etc. They got low price match guarantee, so if you can find a ticket in the same section row somewhere else for less, they'll credit you back 110% of the difference. Great spot to get tickets to all Houston Cougar games. They've got the get into the lower bowl price for the Baylor Blue Out game. Last I saw was $46. That's all in pricing, $46. Get into the lower bowl. It's hard to beat that. Now they've got all kinds of great seats too that are much closer for a whole different price point. Whatever you want, you can find it at Game Time. Download Game Time app today. Create an account and use code Locked On College. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's Game Time. Park Ranger, Locked On Coogs, joined by 2Grads, Pat and PJ. And I gotta ask you guys about basketball. I know I just mentioned in that read there the football Blue Out game coming up later, which is a whole different thing for folks in the business y'all are in here. But basketball, I would argue, is a big part of the reason that Houston's become cool again. And part of that's because basketball is cool. As someone who coaches high school basketball by day and night, I would argue that that's a pretty cool thing. But I would also say that, Samson and the culture and it's a very unique brand of basketball and all that. I am wearing a Hakeem Olajuwon again in the we're going to call it the cocaine on a Saturday morning Cougar cart. I don't know. It is. It looks like a coked out Coug, but he's just going crazy. Maybe he's had too many 5-hour energies. Maybe it's much more clean than that.
That's Celsius.
Yeah. Basketball being incorporated into this. A lot of schools in Texas would pitch the football program, the football history, the whatever. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the as far as like seeing actual sports on the shirt, basketball seems to be a pretty big deal here. Pat, PJ, either one of you, what's the interest in basketball? Are you guys basketball people? You see us in a moment. What do you see there?
100%. So I'll start, and I'll say by saying this, the reason why my name's a little different is because I was born in Lithuania. And for those that do know Lithuania is huge on basketball. Like, we bleed basketball. So I grew up watching like basketball every single day. And what a better school to go to than U of H, who has such a rich basketball history. So when Pat and I were in school, we actually got the pleasure to go to basketball games at the Hofheinz.
It's an interesting way to use the word pleasure. Yeah.
And funny enough, we just went to the opener of U of H against Jackson State, and we sat next to two super fans that entered our giveaway for some basketball tickets. And they too have spent plenty of time at the Hofheinz. And I told them I can, to this day, visibly remember the stains and the smell of those old Hofheinz seats. And, I really wish that, I don't know if there was some sort of a sale or whatnot, but I wish I could have purchased one of those Hofheinz seats. Nothing would make me happier. But yeah, I mean, we been fans for as long as we can remember. Started at the Hofheinz, went to the last game at the Hof against East Carolina. Went to a handful of games over at Texas Southern when we were in the transition. And then, made the switch to Fertitta Center. And like you said, the culture has been unreal. Like, the basketball program in general for U of H has been absolutely killing it. I think we're lucky to have experienced what we have over the past, call it 7 to 8 years. It's truly been an amazing time to be a U of H basketball fan.
Yeah, we've seen the Samson era from day one.
2014, yeah.
That's kind of videos of him walking around campus, like asking people to go to the games, and I think we're in one of those videos. So that's how far back we go.
Well, now we got to go find those videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Those videos are definitely out there. And when they were ranked number 1 in the country for the first time in a long time, like, was that 2 or 3 years ago at this point? They've been it several times since as well. Right. But I remember people posting that video everywhere, like, can you imagine? And now we got to go find that video, because who'd have known that 2 people making basketball clothes, all of the clothes, would be in that video as well. All right, Pat, this basketball season, y'all went to Jackson State. You saw that one. That went really well. The one since then, I would argue, went well, and spurts and just didn't finish our way. What are you looking at when you look at the Cougs this year in basketball? You said, like y'all said, you've been watching them over 10 years at this point. Start with Pat and then go to PJ. But the Cougs basketball program is as good as it's been. It's very deep. You've seen a couple games now, one in person. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, when it comes to like player names and individual statistics, I'm probably not the go-to guy and compared to Pews. I'll go to the games, and I'm either at the games or I'm at home watching on TV, yelling at the TV. But in terms of like, naming individual players and things like that, Pews, I'm going to defer to you.
Well, actually, then that actually makes, because if you're at home yelling at your TV, is there a Ryan Elvin chant this year, or is it going to be somebody else? It's going to be Ryan Elvin again, right? Going to be Ryan Elvin again?
I think it's got to be. We actually made that joke on our Instagram story the other day when it was, 50-12 or whatever the score was at that point.
Just bring him in. I mean, I know he's a coach, but just bring him in. I'm sure he's wearing a jersey underneath it all.
Would they notice? Yeah, would they notice?
It's definitely exciting, though.
Outside of Ryan Elvin and that kind of stuff, PJ, if you're the guy that's been watching basketball day in, day out for a long time now, obviously it's not the Lithuanian style basketball of the 1980s, but it does feel like 1980s basketball at some points with how physical they play. What have you enjoyed about the basketball season thus far? What are you looking at? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the transfer that we got from Oklahoma, Milos Uzan, I think I'm curious to see how he's going to take over for Jamal Shed. Right, it kind of seems like he's the starting point guard. Almost had a triple double at the Jackson State game.
Yeah.
Pointed that out in like the third quarter, and I was just sitting there. I was like, "Come on, one more rebound." I'm curious to see how he develops throughout the season. Right, and I also think that this is going to be an interesting team. Obviously, I think any U of H fan can say that we've kind of earned the respect over the last, call it, 5 years. We're no longer thinking to ourselves like, my gosh, when is U of H going to be ranked top 10? We're there. I think this Auburn game, I know people are upset. I know people are upset that we lost. We hung in there. Probably should have won that game. But it is November, right? If there's a time to lose those kind of games, it's November. See what the guys are up to. And what I'm hoping for is that, again, anything that I say, Calvin Sampson is the man, right? He knows more than I don't even know than anybody else about basketball. And I think we'll use that opportunity to get better. But I'm excited to see how this team gels. I feel like we have a lot of fresh faces. At the same time, we do have some, returners like Jawan Roberts, Manuel Sharp, right? Some of those guys that have been here for a while. But curious to see how everybody gels and goes from there and kind of win some of those tough ones. I saw our schedule, and it's a gauntlet, man. The Big 12 is a gauntlet.
Big 12 is just, from January through March and hopefully April, every game is just a fight. Obviously, for fun jokes and fun times, whether it's Ryan Elvin jokes or whatever, you can follow these guys at 2Grads on Instagram. They were luckily kind of at the front of the Blue Out stuff, though, with the football program. And so I also want to talk to them a little bit about Willie Fritz and things coming on that way. But before we get too far, today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Now, I'm not gonna ask these two guys their gambling histories or anything like that. Not trying to put anyone in trouble, but right now, if you put down $5 and that bet hits at FanDuel, you get $150 back in bonus bets. Hard to find a better deal anywhere online. You can put all those things into the NFL or whatever game you're looking at all in one place where you're also checking out live stats, play-by-play, and more. Right now, they got Houston as a 2.5-point dog heading to Arizona this weekend, Friday night. I got Houston winning that one, so take my advice as you want. Some of you guys think you're way smarter than me here in the comments every day. Go with that one if you like. But wherever you go, whatever you want to do, you got to go do it at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment worth. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Parker Ainsworth of Locked On Cougs, joined by 2Grads, PJ and Pat. All right, so football is this weekend. They're on the road at Arizona Friday night. Kicks off at 9:15 local time, which the thought of doing a post-game show, we're going to start at 1 a.m. That's going to be rough. But good thing I don't have to wake up till like 7 o'clock the next morning when my 16-month-old wakes me up. But the weekend after, Houston's wearing blue. Eddie Nunez, listen to the fans. They're bringing back the blue out kind of look. The Houston Blue is what they're calling it now, but it's very similar to the Love You Blue stuff from a year ago. You guys partnered with a golf polo company and kind of simultaneously with the launch, relatively quietly, got a really high quality blue polo to go with the red and black. Did you guys, and again, if you don't want to sell the secrets away, I'm not going to make you. Did you guys know it was coming? What were you thinking there?
We did know it was coming. We did get some insider information. We won't go too far into the details, but we did get the insider information. And luckily, because of that information, or I guess simultaneously, we were one of the few brands that were approved to actually sell the Houston Blue colorway for our merch. So yeah, like we said, the Houston Blue, we partnered with a company called Rally Golf, who's also another U of H owned, I guess, Cougar owned brand, which was kind of the whole idea from the beginning. We both knew we were, Cougar owned businesses. We kind of built a relationship beforehand. And so that's kind of how that came to fruition. And so we kind of dropped those polos quietly on their website at first, but they will now be available on our website probably by the time of the release of this podcast. So we're excited for that.
Well, and again, they're high quality. You partner with a company that knows how to make a good golf polo and kind of put your own flair on it. As far as football goes, that Baylor game with the blue, that could be a big game if they beat Arizona this weekend. Baylor game is literally to be bowl eligible. If somehow I'm wrong and the Arizona game goes south, that Baylor game is they have to win it to have a chance to be bowl eligible. Like that Baylor game has a lot hanging on it. What have your hopes and dreams for the football season adjusted? Is making a bowl a big deal for you in what year one with Willie Fritz? Is year one with Willie Fritz been everything you've hoped and desired? What has y'all's opinions been thus far as the program enters this new era of Cougar football?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. I think we're sitting at 4 wins right now. We beat 17 ranked Kansas State. Hey, man, this is a win for me. I know it's like, hey, what, 4 wins? That's all that you need. I'm good. Whenever I saw the exodus of players transferring after Dana Holgerson left, I thought, man, we're going to be lucky to win 1 or 2 games. And then we started our season against UNLV, dropping that game. We got shut out twice this year, right? And we're still having a conversation about going bowling. Like, I mean, hey, of course, as a Coug fan, I want us to go all the way. I want us to be ranked. I want us to, compete for the playoff now that we have a true shot, which we didn't 2 years ago and prior. So of course, I want bigger and better things, but I'm a believer. I love Willie Fritz. I think he was a good hire. I think seeing what he's done at Tulane and his previous stops, he's literally taken teams. He literally took Tulane from like a 1-win team his first year.
It's hard to remember. Tulane was terrible for a long. Like the last few years, they were good, and I think recent college grads or people in college right now might not think of it. Tulane was historically bad for a long time.
Yeah, and like look where he left the program. Like I saw Tulane destroyed whoever they were playing this weekend. Like he left them at a great place, and that's why I think Willie Fritz kind of reminds me of Kelvin Sampson because he to me seems like a builder. Right? And if you're going to build something great, of course, would it be nice if he came in here and we went to the playoff our first year? Sure. It would be awesome. But he's a builder and great things take time, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think in my opinion, this season has been a success.
Pat, your thoughts?
Yeah, just, agree with Pews there. I'm excited to see what we do next year once, Willie kind of gets, I mean, it seems like he's getting his feet under him now after kind of a rough beginning to the year, but, hopefully we go bowling this year and then next year should be an exciting year.
So you guys were at the blackout game, the Kansas State win that Pews alluded to. And you both wore, I noticed, 2 grads black merch. I was trying to pull up the picture to see which one had which shirt on. Was actually what I was trying to pull up with my phone a second ago. But you both were rocking the gear, and then very quickly said, "Hey, paw hats, $15. They won. This is crazy. Let's celebrate together," kind of a thing. First of all, $15 for a paw hat that, frankly, not just because I have it on right now. I think everyone is like, why doesn't the bookstore have the paw hat? And you're like, hey, here's one for $15. There's no way you're making money on that, right? Like, come on.
Yeah, we're not really making money on a lot of our stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of making just enough to put out another product, right? Everything that we make, it just kind of goes right back into the business, right? We're not doing this to come out rich or whatnot, right? We're truly just doing it for the fans. So yeah, no, I mean, it was just our way to kind of give back and say, hey, this was a huge win. Like, let's get excited, so yeah.
Yeah, no, our goal is obviously, apart from everything else that we've already said, is really to grow the U of H brand. And, if we can offer things at a lower price point where everyone can, get their hands on something, then, that's a win for us.
So what I'm getting at, I guess, is that I don't know how much more of a deal you could give if they were to like make a bowl game like that. Like, it doesn't seem realistic. I'm
I don't
not
want to
going to
make
make
any promises, right? But to make a bowl
Free
game, I
hats,
mean,
no.
something's coming. No pressure, Willie.
Edit that out.
Yeah, cut that. So but the blue polos are for sale. You've also got fun cartoonish t-shirts and things like that. Two Grads is the Instagram handle. I don't want to make you give away secrets again. That's not the goal of this. Goal of this is to make sure everyone gets to know everybody and introduce folks that maybe don't know about the brand to the brand. But what else is in the works? I mean, you're not stopping at a single basketball shirt. I think this thing just continues to grow, right? It's not just going to be selling the stuff you already got. There's more stuff on the way, right? What are we looking at?
Yeah, so obviously we want to put out as many products as possible. I think one thing that we really noticed in terms of U of H gear is there's not that much that's tailored to like the female U of H fan. So I think our near-term goals are going to be to release we're really going to focus on more unisex and female focused gear just to kind of fill that goal because we are, like we mentioned earlier, we really want to get a finger on the pulse of what the fans are asking for, and that's probably been the number one request that we've gotten is to make more female gear. So that's probably what the near future is going to hold. We've got some cool hats that you might have seen on our Instagram story. They're more unisex. I think we asked the female Coogs to vote on our poll, and then even the guys chimed in and said they would wear it too. So that's probably going to be our next drop, is going to be that hat. If you've seen, we had some crew necks in the past. We want to bring those back. It's more of a unisex item, and then just tailor to try to give something for everybody.
Maybe throw like Willie Fritz's face on it or something. We'll see.
Fritzmas. What can we get Fritzmas stuff going?
Like that.
You're we need to hire you as our designer.
Right, I was gonna say.
Oh, I talk a lot. I talk for more than 30 minutes a day, and then people get to listen to it for 30 minutes. I'm not the artist. That's PJ and Pat. They own Two Grads at Instagram, or on Instagram at 2TWO.grads. All your Houston Cougar gear is fun. Yeah, I'm not saying to only buy it from one place, but you got to make sure you check these guys out. They've got unique, different, fun stuff. They've also got the classic paw hat, and it's all officially licensed. You're not breaking any rules by shopping with these guys. So make sure you check out Two Grads next time you're looking for Houston Cougar gear. Maybe if you're getting ready for the the blue game with Houston Blue game, get a polo as well. Check out Two Grads with PJ and Pat, and also, for what it's worth, a fun Instagram follow, the almost game day kind of stuff, very, very in the know. So thank y'all for coming on this evening. I know with my own schedule, it got a little bit late with all that, but I'm excited to introduce you guys to the fans out there. And I hope, frankly, that the company continues to grow and we see it with its own standalone shop someday. So thank you all again. Locked On Coogs is a proud member of the Locked On Podcast Network. Is your team every day, including on Wednesday. I think tonight Houston plays. Who's Houston play tonight? I got my teams all backwards. Houston basketball Wednesday night. Check it out. Locked On Cougars Daily Podcast. All things Houston Cougars. Locked On Big 12 for second list of the day. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.